Hey guys, how's it going? It's Bree and Krista from B&B Paranormal, and today we're actually going to be investigating East Hill Cemetery, which is about 2 miles east of Erie, Kansas. We will be referring to some of our notes because it is a lot of information. So for a little backstory, we're going to have to take you back to the 1800s.
And introduce you to the Sell family, which consisted of the father, Jacob W. Sell, the mother, Susan Frances Sell, the first son, Walter V. or Waddy Sell, and the second son, William Bain or Willie Sell. Now, when the family moved to southeast Kansas in the 1870s, they settled in Neosho County on a little farm just north of Erie. And that is when the youngest, little Miss Ina Sell, was born. Now, on the night in question, which was March 8th, 1886, in the middle of the night, Willie Sell would awaken his neighbor, Mr. Mendel, around about 3 a.m., telling him, "Mr. Mendel, a man is at our house with a hatchet and has hurt father and mother. I don't know how badly." Now, Mr. Mendel had accompanied Willie Sell to the Sell family home, but on the way there, they stopped and awakened another neighbor, J.J. Rice. Upon reaching the Sells' house, a most horrible, gruesome sight met their eyes.
Now, as a disclaimer, you might want to brace yourselves because this is where it gets a little bit gruesome.
In the bed in the north room lay Walter, Willie's older brother, who was 18 years at the time. Now, he had his throat cut and the entire top of his head chopped off, exposing the brain. His left eye was dangling on his cheek. Yes, I'm aware that was my right eye. Just saying. Passing into the south in the main room, they stumbled over the face-down form of the 47-year-old Mr. Sell, or Jacob. Now, Jacob's head was crushed and almost severed completely from his body. And nearby him lay Mrs. Sell, who went by Frances. At 41 years old, her head was smashed and there was a fearful gash on her throat. Now, on the bed on the southeast corner of the room lay little Ina Sell, Willie's younger sister. She was 13, and she was killed in the same manner. Now, there were two weapons found inside the residence, a butcher knife and a hatchet sitting on a chair. Willie had explained to the neighbors that he had been awakened by something, and looking up, saw a low, heavy-set man with dark hair cut close, standing in the door. Now, the man stepped into the room and reached over Willie to strike Walter. Now, Willie at this point jumped out of bed, got dressed while the man was still in the room. And at that point, the man ran out one door. Willie ran out another door to chase after him. After a short distance, 30 rods, or in today's measurements, that's 495 feet. Away from the house stood a second man on horseback holding a second horse. The first man jumped on the second horse and they both made off. Willie then went on to Mr. Mendel's house, and after the bodies were discovered, Mr. Rice took Willie to his house and Willie slept comfortably throughout the whole night. Now, suspicion clearly rested on Willie, and he was put on the stand. Now, all of that being said, there were some holes in the story, and there was the evidence. Now, see, Willie swore up and down he hadn't washed his hands since the murders were committed. But inspection showed that while his hands and wrists were completely clean of blood, there were watermarks on his forearms. And above those watermarks, it was completely saturated in blood. Now, around his fingernails, there was blood found deep in the crevices. And upon removing his pants, his drawers were saturated in the sanguine fluid. Now, his bare feet fit all of the footstep marks that were at the scene of the crime, all of them. There wasn't a second set found. Now, the boy stoutly denied being the murderer. He kept a bold front throughout the entire thing. The conclusion was postponed, and the boy was smuggled in a buggy by Police Justice Camburn and Deputy Sheriff Locke, and he was driven to the jail in Erie. Now, I want you to keep Locke in mind, but take into note that on the way to Erie, Willie told Mr. Camburn, "Those fellows tried to get me to say that I did it, but I thought it would be best not to admit it." There's hardly a doubt Willie committed those crimes. Now, on March 22nd, 4 months after the crime was committed, Willie's cell was put on trial. And after about an hour and a half, the jury came to the verdict of guilty of murder in the first degree. Willie was sentenced to be hung, but he had to await the governor's signature for that death warrant. Now, the problem that followed after that is while he was awaiting the signature, not everybody believed Willie was guilty of the murders because there was no motive. Now, on the contrary, it was proven that Willie was actually well liked in his community, even more so than his brother was. Willie and Ina were also very, very close. Again, pulls into question, why? Now, his father was part of an anti-horse theft organization, so it was fairly believable that two men had entered their property with revenge to steal the Sell family horses. The possibility of Willie's innocence and the fact that there was no motive is eventually what freed him in 1907. He served 23 years in Leavenworth State Penitentiary.
Now, this is the messed up part. Willie had been released from prison even after confessing to the crime. While on trial, 4 men tried to persuade Willie to confess, telling him that if he did tell the truth, he would be acquitted. If he did not, he would be convicted. After about 30 minutes of back and forth, the men had weakened Willie into breaking down and confessing. Word for word, this is his confession. Mother and sister Ina had gone to bed. Father, Waddy, and I were still up when the calves got out and came up around the house. Waddy sat at the table reading, and Father had just taken his coat and pant off to go to bed and told Waddy to go and put the calves up. To which Waddy said, "Let Willie do it. I don't go out now." Father said that he should go, and Waddy did not want to. And while they were talking, I went out and got the hatchet, which was sticking in a log of wood outside of the door, and came back to see if Waddy would go out with me. I got the hatchet to nail up the calf pen. Father and Waddy were there quarreling and had become very mad. When I came back in where they were, with the hatchet, Waddy snatched it out of my hand and struck Father several times, at last knocking him down. When I saw what Waddy had done, I caught hold of the hatchet and jerked it out of his hands, and striking at Waddy, hit him on the head, and he fell down on the floor, and I suppose that is what killed him. Then Mother, seeing what was being done, jumped out of bed screaming, and before I thought of what I was doing, I struck her. Ina, my sister, at that, raised up in bed and screamed, and I did not know why I did it, but I struck her with the hatchet, and she fell back. They were all lying quiet. I took off all my clothes except my shirt and drawers, then pulled off Waddy's pants, raised him up, and carried him into the other room and put him into our bed. After that, I went back and got the hatchet and pounded his head all to pieces. I felt mad at Waddy because he had killed Father. I went to the cupboard and got the butcher knife and cut Waddy's head nearly off. Then I went back into the other room and sat down and did not know what to do. Then I thought that if any of them should come to life, they would say I killed Waddy. So I took the butcher knife and cut their throats to make sure work of it. Here, one of his attorneys asked him if he struck his father with the hatchet, to which he said, "No, but I cut his throat after Waddy killed him," and then broke down and sobbed for several minutes so that he could not go on. When he again could speak, someone asked him what he did after cutting their throats, to which he said, "I blew out the lamp and sat down for several hours, but at last could not stand it any longer, and lit the lamp again, and putting on my clothes, ran over to Mr. Mendel's house and told him that somebody was at our house with a hatchet and had hurt Pa and Ma." When they asked him why he had told a different story in the beginning at the coroner's office, He had told them that he was afraid that they would hang him. So even after admitting that he did it and was found guilty, he was unable to be sentenced to death because of a lack of evidence and motive.
Exactly. So, after he served 23 years in prison, he was released. But he never returned home. Instead, he moved to Kansas City, where, after learning how to become a pharmacist while he was in prison, he operated a drugstore for 39 years. Now, reports about his later life indicated that he was a church member and a model citizen. He eventually died in 1960 at the age of 91. Now, whether or not Willie was innocent or not is up for you to decide. If you like that backstory, follow us along on this crazy adventure to East Hill Cemetery. And let's see if we can make contact with the Sell family. Maybe hear a little bit of their side of this story. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe for more crazy adventures that we're going to take you on. Thanks, guys.
So this is B&B Paranormal at the East Hill Cemetery, investigating the Sell murder, S-E-L-L, just to make sure that's correct. We are standing at their graves, and we're going to ask some questions before I turn on the necrophonic. There are some voices in the distance where there is people moving around. So there is some outside noise interference. So we have Jacob was the father, Susan was the mother, Ina was the little sister, and Waddy was the older brother. Willie, which is the middle son, was buried in Kansas City, where he passed away after having ran a pharmacy up there for 39 years.
Yep.
Ina, Jacob, Waddy, Susan, are any of you with us tonight?
She liked to be called Frances.
Oh, Francis, my apologies. I guess I should probably explain to you what these devices are that we're using. The black device that is standing up with the green light on it, if you come close to it or touch it, it will light all the way up to red. The closer you get. The other device that is laying down there with the orange light is just a recorder. It can hear you if you want to speak into it, where we can't hear you with our ears. I will also pull out another device later that will be able to let us hear you in real time. Are any of you with us tonight? Can you touch that device? The K2 or the black device with the green light? Would any of you like to communicate with us tonight? We just want to know what the real story is.
We've been researching your guys' story pretty thoroughly.
We know Willie's side of it. We'd like to know what your side of it was.
You do not have to speak through the cows.
They kind of make it hard for us to understand.
We're lacking a little bit on cow speak.
Technology has advanced, but we have not learned how to translate cow yet.
You guys had a 2-bedroom home that was north of Erie. Willie is the one that said it might be possible that Waddy was the one to kill Jacob.
He also said that it could be horse thieves.
We speculate on whether it was Willie himself.
Okay, I'm going to bring up the other device. It's called an application that you can speak through that will help us hear you in real time. I'm going to leave the recorder going, so if you don't want to speak through this device, you don't have to. You can still speak directly into the recorder, which is the one with the orange light, or you can touch the K2, which is the one with the green light. And the necrophonic is on now, and we are going to ask that anybody that wants to communicate with us, preferably from the cell family, speak through this device so that we can hear you. Is Francis here with us? Jacob? Waddy? Francis? Or little Ina? Are any of you here with us?
What'd you say, Jacob?
That sounded like it.
I thought so.
I don't know what we're doing.
Jacob, are you here with us? If you are, we are here out of love and respect and to tell your story. That is the only reason. We want your side. Jacob, was it horse thieves? Did you and Waddy get into an argument? I did. Or we did. Is that what caused your untimely death? Did Waddy kill you? Or did Willie kill you? Is Francis or Ina with us?
There's an animal afterwards.
It's a puppy. Francis and Ina, you were the last two. Hi, puppers.
Hello.
Pardon us while we get interrupted by a pupper dog. Hello, beautiful.
You're the sweetest little thing.
Ina or Francis, did you see what happened? Can you tell us who actually killed Jacob? Or who killed Waddy? Would you like to tell us your side of the story? kill the light? If you have anything else you want to say, you need to say it now, because I'm going to shut off this device. Okay. Good night. Okay, just so we know, that last little sound clip that came through was after I hit the stop button. Necrophonic device and see if we can communicate with Mr. John.
See?
Oh, it just lit up.
Oh, I saw.
Okay, this device is called the K2, the one with this green light. If you want to communicate with us, you can come close to that. It'll light up. If you get really close to it and touch it, it'll go all the way to red. This is a recorder. And all it does is just pick up noises. So if you want to speak, you can whisper directly into that. You can also talk through the device I'm about to set next to it, which is a necrophonic app. It will help us hear you in real time. We are reaching out to the spirit of John W. Locke to ask some questions. Is this John Locke with us, if you want to touch that device? There you go. Awesome job. Thank you so much. We appreciate you communicating with us. Okay, I am going to go ahead and start this device as a backup, just so we can hear you. Okay. All right, again, is John Locke with us? Were you the deputy sheriff involved in the cell case? Do you remember Jacob and Francis cell? Can you tell us about Little Ina cell or Waddy cell? Or even Willie cell? Do you remember transporting Willie cell to the jail in Erie? Is it your belief, Mr. Locke, that Willie was guilty? Do you believe it was the horse thieves? Did it just say thieves? I'm not sure. Even after Willie confessed, did you still believe he was innocent? Mr. Locke, we come out of respect. We just want to know the real story. On Willie's account, he also said that Waddy was the one that killed Jacob. Do you believe Waddy would do this? Did I just say sheriff? I think it said sheriff or sheriff's family. I'll say Waddy. It sounded like it. Is there anything further you can tell us of the Sell family murders? Sounded like sorry. Do you have any other messages you'd like to get across? It was said that Willie was very well liked in the community. Would you agree with that? It sounded like it said no, not true though. That's what I'm saying. Is it looks like they're arguing. Did Willie ever get into trouble? He did. Did Willie and his father get along? Almost sounded like fought. I know. It said that Willie and Ina were very close to each other. Would you say that's true?
I heard you.
So if Willie and Ina were very close, why then did Willie confess to killing Ina? Is there anything that Willie may have told you?
Okay, I'm going to stop the necrophonic device. I kind of want to go back over to the cells now and see if we can have more communication over there.
I'm kind of wondering if perhaps Jacob was hurting his children and possibly motive for Willie or Waddy to kill.
Okay, we are back over by the cell grave. We got several responses from Mr. John W. Locke. All right, I'm going to bring back up the necrophonic app. Okay.
Cell, and then the
It just lit up again.
Oh. Hello?
Is this one of the cell family members that are with us? Okay. Very good. Very good. I get stuck because I'm wearing too many clothes.
I don't know if that was... Okay.
No, it's not because of me. Like, it's not my phone either. Just so we know.
Phone.
Oops. That was. That was all on me.
Cut.
Try again. Alright, we're going to turn back on the necrophonic app now. If one of the cells would like to communicate with us, we would greatly appreciate it. Again, we come out of respect. We only want to know your story. Are one of the cells with us? Willie, are you here paying respects to your family? Can someone tell me who brought these flowers out?
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Okay.
I just seen that happen.
So did I. I watched it.
Same.
It tilted
Okay, I
over
want
and
to
then-
pick it up and move it, but I don't want to because somebody's still touching it.
It like tilted and rotated
Oh, it
as
just
it
went
fell.
all the way up to all the way red. Okay,
Yep.
Thank
so
you for all of that. I'm guessing you don't like things being on your grave.
Apologies for that. I didn't know.
Again, we intend no disrespect. Will you touch that meter if you want us to tell your side of the story? Can you tell me the name of the person that just knocked that off the grave or the headstone? Did that just say Willie?
Oh. Willie, if you're here with us, would you be willing to give us some answers?
Willie, can you tell us what actually happened? Was it the horse thieves?
Did I just say bitch? Willie, did you harm your family?
I think that just said, just leave me alone.
That sounded like leave.
Willie, you changed your story later on. Was Waddy the one to actually grab the hatchet out of your hand and harm your father? If that is what happened, then did you then harm your brother, mother, and sister? You told the investigators that you didn't know why, but you attacked your brother. Were you guilty of killing them? Can you tell me why you harmed your mother and sister? They were innocents.
There is an electric heat going off the tips of my fingers to the KP meter right now. Like, y'all, I feel like my fingers are in a fire.
Is it true that you changed your story because you were scared they would hang you? Was your father a good man? Did your brother harm your father because he was not a good man?
Did you harm your father because he had already harmed the ladies? Are you guys all together in the afterlife?
Sheriff Locke agreed that you were close to your sister Ina. Why would you hurt her?
Did one of your parents do that to her? Did it say yes? Did you hurt your parents because of what they did to your siblings?
So speculation cannot be confused. Once again, Willie, were you actually guilty of the crimes you were
Accused of.
Thank you.
There is geese and ducks in the background making noises. Leave me alone.
Should we go speak to Waddy instead?
Is Waddy here with us?
Close your eyes.
Is Ina here?
Is Jacob here?
Jacob, did you get into a fight with your eldest son, Waddy? It is said that you are paying for Waddy's college tuition. Why would Waddy lash out violently at you if you were paying for his tuition at college?
Yeah.
That Waddy was the one to bludgeon you with the hatchet. Let us know.
Did you just say something?
No.
Sounded almost like you were trying to get my attention. Is there one of the cells here that want to say anything else to us? Speak your mind.
Keep going in and out of focus a lot.
Leave here.
I thought it was like here.
That could have been it.
Go.
If you want us to leave, light that all the way to red. There you go. Thank you for communicating so clearly. Have a good night.